what kept me stuck for 10 years, jumping from one idea to the next, to the next, to the next, was the fact that I could not manage my own ups and downs. So first off, let's talk about your kingdom work. Your kingdom work is so much more. It's more than volunteering. It's more than a passion project. It's tied to who you are in Christ and your identity as a child of God. Excitement comes before action. Joy, when we're talking about your kingdom work, joy comes after consistent action. But first, let me just set myself up a little bit differently. Not quite. Let's try this. Okay, that's better. All right. So we are going to talk about not boredom, but your kingdom work, and everything that you do along the way should be boring. And before you think that I am just a fun sucker and I try to take all the joy out of things, we stay to the end because we're going to be talking about the difference between joy and excitement. Because what I hope for you is that you are able to actually do your kingdom work, whether it is what God has called you to do for your whole life or for this season of your life. But my hope is that you can experience deep joy in what you do. And the road to get there is through boring work, which sounds really backwards, but let's dive into it and it will all make sense. So we're going to talk about I'm going to talk about traders, like people who are in the business of trading, like stocks and stuff. I'm probably going to butcher some of the language because I know enough to use it for this example, but not enough to like totally know what I'm talking about. But I'm going to talk more about who traders are, who they are when they're really good at what they do, how they carry themselves. And then I'm going to talk about how it applies to your kingdom work, because I find that it is one of the best examples. And then we're going to talk about joy. All right. So what makes a good trader? When we're talking about people who trade money, because they have to, when you get into trading money, you are working with a lot of highs and a lot of lows. A good trader is not run by emotions. They are not affected by when the stocks are high. They aren't excited by that. When the stocks go down, they aren't discouraged by that. They have emotions, but they aren't run by their emotions. They're able to separate. Their emotions are over here and they can experience them, but then they're going to make different choices over here. And I was talking with my dad about this a few years ago. And in the midst of this conversation, we were just talking about how you almost have to see it like colors. Like it's like, when it's going in your favor, it's purple. And when it's going against you, it's pink. Basically where it's just like, there's no emotion tied to it, right? It's just, it's up, like where we can get so affected by ups and downs. So when people get into trading, they really come face to face with who they are and their risk tolerance and their what they can handle, what they can emotionally handle, like when things aren't going their way, do they freak out and pull all their money out, right? Even if it means that they're going to lose a ton, or are they able to ride that dip until it gets better again? And the whole difference there is like you have to manage your emotions and basically just see ups and downs as just pieces to the puzzle. It's all part of the story. And it's all part of like, in order to actually go up, you have to have a bunch of downs along the way. And so when we are looking at how this applies to your kingdom work, what kept me stuck for 10 years, jumping from one idea to the next, to the next, to the next, was the fact that I could not manage my own ups and downs. I would have an emotional down of some kind. It could be simply because it's that time of the month, or it was something had happened in my life and I thought, oh, this must be God telling me no. I didn't actually feel that he was, or when I would talk to him about it, like that wasn't like, I wasn't convinced that this was actually God redirecting me. Something happened and I didn't know how to face it or how to handle it. And so that was a dip or a down or a low. And because I didn't know how to manage it, and I didn't see that as like just being another piece to the puzzle, I would like jump lanes. And then so then I would go from like one idea of like, okay, I really want to do this for God, to then I would come up with a different idea and think, well, maybe I'm supposed to do this. So instead of just staying on track, which, speaking of staying on track, if you know what you want to do for God, even if it's not perfectly clear, totally fine. But if you know what you want to do for Him and with Him, but you are a little bit stuck in the process, or you just want a quick win to get you there a little bit faster, download my Kingdom Calling Clarity map, which will, I was going to say lap. I don't know why. Something in my brain got confused there, but it's the Kingdom Calling Clarity map, and it's there to help you really just nail down where you want to be and what steps you need to take this week in order to get there. Where was I? Okay, I think I was just talking about how I would keep jumping from one idea to the next because I didn't know how to keep on moving forward and how to ride those highs and those lows. I was dependent on, it's like, well, this is, if God really wants me to do this thing, then it should only be highs. I should only feel excited about it. I should only be encouraged by it. And because of that, I flip-flopped all over the place for 10 plus years. And the last thing I want to say about traders is that they make choices based on systems, based on schedules, based on data. So again, they have emotions, they feel things. They just don't let their emotions drive their choices when it comes to money and how they handle money and the choices that they make within as they're trading. So okay, so how does this apply to your kingdom work? So first off, let's talk about your kingdom work. Your kingdom work is so much more. It's more than volunteering. It's more than a passion project. It's tied to who you are in Christ and your identity as a child of God. It's tied to your beliefs about who He is as a father, who He is as a shepherd, as a leader. Is He really trustworthy? And just, there's all these strings attached to your growing up and to who you are now and to who you're trying to be and the people surrounding you. And then when you have this thing that is on your heart, you might not voice it to many people, but you have this thing that you really, really, really want to be faithful with and follow through on. It is like, it's not just that thing that you want to do. It is tied to so many different things. So your kingdom work, in other words, all that to say, your kingdom work is highly emotional work. And so it is like super practical where you're like, okay, just take the next right step, but it is also highly emotional work. And so the likelihood of you going through these ups and downs where you're going to have really low lows and really high highs, you're going to be super inspired and be so excited that you like, when this happens to me, I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to get my brain on something just boring and mundane because it's starting to make me feel sick because I'm actually really excited. But in the midst of that excitement, sometimes I'm like, so I'll all of a sudden just be like, I can't do this. This is too big. This is too scary. I'm not cut out for this. And so I still, to this day, to this week, I have these high highs and low lows. But what I've learned to do is to, like, my emotions, they have their space, they have their time, they have priority, but I have learned to separate them from the action that I'm choosing to take. So I take the action steps that I want to take. I make a schedule, I make a system, and I stick to that system. If I go a few weeks and I'm off track of that, I'm not looking to my emotions to tell me if I'm on or off track. I'm looking to, okay, what did I decide to do and am I on track? I'm looking at the data. So my choices and the steps, the action that I'm taking, the data is over here. My emotions are over here. They both get the space that they need, but I don't make choices based on if I'm really excited, I'm not going to change what I'm doing. If I get really discouraged, I'm not going to change what I'm doing. And that is probably one of the biggest things that I've learned, where kingdom work, the steps that you're needing to take, the more boring it is, the more just repetitious and mundane. Like, just do the next right thing. It doesn't have to be exciting. Great if it is, but it's like, well, so one day you're going to be loving it. The next day it's going to feel really like, why am I even doing this? Or the next day you're going to be really discouraged. Let yourself go through that where you're feeling those emotions, but you're making choices based on the data. And part of that data might be that if you when you look back over the last, like, let's say you're doing your work, or you're volunteering, or you're making movement towards moving overseas, if that's what God has called you to do, as you work towards that, some of that data you might realize, okay, you know what? Every time that I'm working on this, I'm actually disliking it more and more and more. I don't think this is what I want to do. That's part of the data. So then you go and you sit down and you say, okay, is this emotions, or is this becoming part of the long-term data that I'm looking at, where I actually have to pay attention to this? And so learning to differentiate both of these is so key to your kingdom work. And so what you want to do is basically feel your emotions, give space to them, journal. Like, it's like, I'll journal, I'll talk about them, I'll think about it, I'll think about it while I'm doing dishes, and I'm talking to God about this stuff, and I'm super excited, and I let myself be excited. I also let myself be super discouraged when I am discouraged. But like I said, when it comes time to take the action, I take the action that I've chosen to take, regardless of if I'm feeling really down or if I'm feeling really excited. And the mistake that most of us make, and again, that I made for over a decade, was I would always try to create this excitement, and then I would try to ride that wave of excitement, which is so frustrating, because you could go, like, it's like this huge wave of excitement, and then all of a sudden you have this one thought and it just wipes you out. But then it's like, if you're riding that wave of excitement, you're also going to ride the wave, or I don't know if wave is the best picture for the down, but basically it's like, if you're dependent on the excitement to get you moving, you're going to fall just as easily whenever a discouraging thought comes, or someone says something discouraging, or something didn't go your way, or you did a bunch of work and it just like got deleted in some way. So to summarize that, and before we talk about joy, I just want to say that boring, like when the steps that you need to take is boring, it's not exciting, and great if it is exciting, but it doesn't need to be exciting. It's just, what is that next right thing? You are then able to create systems and strategies and schedules versus a to-do list where you see it on the to-do list and you're like, oh, okay, I really need to do that thing. And you're just trying to like muster up enough energy to do it, right? Or you're just like, why isn't that thing just happening? Like, it's on my to-do list. I want to do it. Why am I not able to do it? So instead, you take that and you put it into your schedule and you just do the next right thing. If you have watched my videos for any length of time, or if you have downloaded the Kingdom Calling Clarity Map, which you can find in the description to this video, it is you'll know that I love the whole, like, know where you're going and be excited about that. Like that is where you want excitement to be, where you're thinking about it, you're talking to God about it. You might have a friend or two that you share the dream on your heart with, and you're talking about that big thing. But then in a way, you almost just need to forget about that. And it's like, okay, that's where I'm headed. What's the next right thing? And then fall in love with the mundane, fall in love with the boring, because, okay, so this is where joy comes in. There is something, again, like, I love excitement, but I have come to desire joy far more. And I found that joy comes when I do the boring thing. So when you are consistent and you're doing the thing that you know you were made to do, whether it is super hard and super uncomfortable, and it's stretching you emotionally, it's stretching your skill set, it's just like not easy. But there's something about that when you know that you're on track and you're aligned with what God has put on your heart to do, and He's given you the skills, even if you don't have the skills yet, but it's like, you know, you were made to do this thing. There is so much joy that starts to kick in. So it's sort of like, excitement comes before action. Joy, when we're talking about your kingdom work, joy comes after consistent action. So, and joy can be found in something as simple and mundane as folding laundry, or as doing the dishes, or as, like for me, editing my videos or making notes, because there's something about knowing that, like, this is what I was made to do. not so much with the doing the laundry part, but when I'm doing my like creating videos, although I have found a lot of joy in doing that too, when I give it the space and I give it the time and I like follow through and I don't just wash the laundry, fold the laundry, sorry, totally bunny trailing, but when I don't just wash the laundry, fold the laundry and or dry it, fold it and leave it on the couch, when you follow through and you put it away and then you are like, just when the house is functioning and it's blessing your family, there's a lot of joy in that. And there's a lot of confidence, like I can do this and I can do this well. But when it comes to your kingdom work, there is so much joy that comes when you begin to do it. Before you're doing your kingdom work, there's, again, we're so dependent on like the hype and the excitement and needing this like big push. But then it's like, well, then you need like big push after big push and it's exhausting. And all like it, one thought, one discouraging thought, it takes that out. And so if instead you, regardless of how you feel, you choose what you're going to do and this, like, where do you want to be and what is the next step that you need to take to get there? Again, download the Kingdom Calling Clarity Map and I'll help you walk through that. But where do you want to be? What is that next step? And make the choice to go in that direction, even if your emotions are like bouncing all over the place. Again, with the traders, when we're talking about the traders, as they're learning to do it, they are making a choice for what they're going to trade on or bid on or whatever the language is, but they're making a choice for what they're going to do. Their emotions are like freaking out, but as time goes on, their emotions start to regulate. And that's what you need to choose what you're going to do. And what is that next small step? It doesn't have to be big. It's just like, what's that next 15-minute thing that you can do? Do that thing knowing like you're going to be freaking out and then your emotions will regulate. And then you might have another breakthrough and you get closer to doing what God has called you to do. Or you start to like enjoy it and you start to do a skill. And then all of a sudden your emotions are like, no, this isn't okay. We're not allowed to enjoy it. Like, this is too scary. So there's just this take action and then work through what's going on behind the scenes. Take action, work through this. All right. I think that was all that I wanted to say about joy. So to recap, again, my whole argument is I hope that you are beginning to see that the more boring your kingdom work is, the better it's going to, and the more it's actually going to like be how do I want to say that? It's going to like take root in your life. It's actually going to be successfully added to your life because again, it's not based on hype. It's based on what's the data, where do I want to be? What do I need to do? What does my life look like? What do I have time for? What do I not have time for? Who am I and how do I work? Who are my kids? What are their needs? And how can I like piece all this stuff together? When you start to look at the data and you create systems that and it just like you make life function regardless of how you're feeling, where one day you feel super excited and it's like this is all working and it's on track, the next day you're like, I can't do this, and you're exhausted and you just need to nap all day. Give yourself the space to do that, but again, stay on track and just do the next right thing where you're doing whatever you need to be doing to make your kingdom work happen. And then you go and you make supper, and then you take care of your home, and then you go to bed, and then you wake up, and then you do the next thing, or you go to work, and then you come home and you do the next right thing towards your kingdom work. But let it be boring. Let it be what it needs to be. And it's not glamorous, right? It's not really the thing that we want to hear. But when you start to do it, it really starts to work because it's almost with trading, again, it's all about the emotion. You need to manage your emotions. So you're making this choice, you're taking this action, and you're letting your emotions do the highs and lows thing until they learn to regulate and you feel safe doing this emotional thing. If you do not separate the actions and your choices from what you like, the highs and lows, the excitement and the discouragement, you are going to constantly be making choices based on what you feel. And as you probably know, your feelings will make you make one amazing choice one day, and then you're going to make an awful choice the next day. And that's just a recipe for disaster, and you're not going to get to where you're going. So separate them, make your work boring, and give space to your emotions and enjoy the results. All right, that's all I have for you for today. If you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit that like button and the subscribe button so that you get notified anytime I upload another video, which will be a lot more in the future. And lastly, remember to read your Bible, get lost in the story of God, and play your part. And I will talk to you soon.